And as the president tries to reach unvaccinated Americans, has there been any thought given, looking back, to the possibility that he may have created some vaccine hesitancy when last year, around this time, the previous administration was rushing to get a vaccine authorized, and the now president said, I trust vaccines, I trust scientists, but I don't trust Donald Trump, and at this moment the American people can't either.
Well, I think it's safe to say he still doesn't trust Donald Trump, so that hasn't changed. But he does trust scientists, he does trust data experts, and he does trust the people leading the CDC, the FDA, which is the gold standard of approval for vaccines. I'd also note, because this question often comes up, that the president has repeatedly given credit to scientists and experts from the prior administration, even as recently as just a few weeks ago, for their role in moving the vaccine forward.
Yes, but at the time when Donald Trump is out there saying we're going to have a vaccine in the next couple of weeks, next couple of months, and Joe Biden is out on the campaign trail saying don't trust Donald Trump, did that create any kind of vaccine hesitancy?
Not that we've seen in the data. I would note that at the time, just for context, the former president was also suggesting people inject versions of poison into their veins to cure COVID. So I think that's a relevant point.
And Joe Biden, then vice president, was saying we got to wait until something is fully authorized, and it's still not.
Well, the FDA works on the timeline of science. At the same time, we've also seen tens of millions of people's lives saved who have gotten the vaccine. That data is clear across the country.
The lengths that Fox News will go to diffuse responsibility for their own actions is just mind-boggling. Here, Peter Doocy is trying to blame Joe Biden for drumming up vaccine hesitancy, which he's saying on behalf of Fox News, which on a nightly basis airs stuff like this.
How many Americans have died after taking the COVID vaccines? That's not Americans who've been killed by the virus. That's a huge number. It's how many Americans have died after getting the vaccines designed to prevent the virus. Do you know the answer to that question?
Is COVID-19. The origin is the top story, but the focus of this administration on vaccination is mind-boggling.
But you're right, the explosion of cases they've seen in the last few weeks has really been in the setting of getting to nearly fully vaccinated. It went up 5 to 10-fold, so it's almost as if the vaccine invited this explosion of cases.
Going door to door, this is creepy stuff. You know, someone comes up to your door outside wearing a mask, showing up at your house claiming to work for the government, asking you personal medical questions. The risks of vaccines to young children may be even worse than we thought.
Can HHS force you to take antibiotics for your TB? How about Xanax for your anxiety, Thorazine for your mania? And while we're at it, why are we letting irresponsible, defective people reproduce? Vagrants, mental patients, even QAnon people, all are allowed to have children. Why is that? Why aren't we sterilizing them? Sound crazy?
I think vaccination ought to be completely prohibited in anybody under age 30. That would simplify the picture greatly.
But sure, it's Joe Biden who's created vaccine hesitancy. Got it. And by the way, the extent to which Fox has pushed vaccine skepticism is reflected in the numbers. According to polling, only 62% of Fox viewers have received at least one dose of the vaccine. Compare that to CNN or MSNBC viewers, who have a vaccination rate of 83%, and the correlation becomes obvious. Fox has been instrumental in dissuading its viewers from getting vaccinated. Now, as for people voicing skepticism toward anything that Donald Trump was involved with, of course they did. The guy is a raging egomaniac who would quicker watch the entire country go up in flames than put himself in a bad position. If Donald Trump thought the prospect of a vaccine would help his re-election chances, the guy would mix arsenic and lava and stick it in a syringe. Donald Trump doesn't care about safety trials or efficacy or approvals, which he made abundantly clear considering he'd spent countless hours attacking those very government agencies for not moving fast enough regardless of safety protocols. Anyone with half a brain could see that Trump prioritized expedience over safety, and so it was not only reasonable that people would be skeptical of anything that he had any semblance of oversight over, but you'd be a fool not to be. Also, let's not pretend that Donald Trump ever had any scruples when it came to promoting baseless medical advice. And the guy was a walking advertisement for untested COVID treatments, culminating into a suggestion that people inject disinfectant, a comment that literally led to a surge in calls to poison control centers across the country. So let's not kid ourselves that it's in any way unfounded to doubt Trump's intentions here. But most telling here is that Doocy actually defends the arguments against getting vaccinated by stating that we have to wait for something that's fully authorized authorized and the COVID vaccine still isn't. Here's the thing. We have two data sets from massive samples. We have one from the hundreds of millions of people who haven't gotten vaccinated and one from the hundreds of millions of people who have. From the group that hasn't gotten vaccinated, just in this country alone, we've seen 630,000 deaths. We've seen horrific hospitalizations and crushing long-haul effects. And from the group that has gotten vaccinated, in the US, we've seen a breakthrough case rate of 0.004% and a death rate of 0.001%. So you can get buried in the deflections and excuses and fear-mongering, but the numbers don't lie. And what those numbers tell us is that this vaccine is a literal lifesaver. And if you're more focused on an FDA authorization than the fact that 99.999% of those who are dying from COVID are those who didn't take the vaccine, then your priorities are clearly out of place. And by the way, that is why those who work for Fox have a much different opinion of the vaccine when it comes to their own health than the garbage they spew to their apparently disposable viewers. Remember, the chairman of Fox's News Corp, Rupert Murdoch, got the vaccine almost immediately, all the way back in December of 2020, all while the network he's in charge of has been drumming up anti-vax sentiment relentlessly. Even Tucker Carlson, likely the worst offender of this anti-vax BS, won't simply acknowledge whether he himself has gotten the vaccine. Now, that's not to say that he has, but you would think that if the guy who's been trafficking in vaccine skepticism for months didn't get it, that he would just say it. The fact that he hasn't really does speak volumes. Even when it comes to non-existent phenomenons like vaccine passports, which based on Fox's reporting, you would think were coming to take away your children, were themselves put into place at Fox. Fox News itself implemented an iteration of vaccine passports, with the network's HR department saying, quote, they developed a secure, voluntary way for employees to self-attest their vaccine status. The system, called Fox ClearPass, allows for employees to self-report to Fox the dates their shots were administered and which vaccines were used. And if you're thinking, wow, a system where your vaccination status is stored in a pass as a way to bypass daily health screenings, that sounds an awful lot like a vaccine passport, guess what? You'd be right. The point is that Peter Doocy can give all the deflections in the world, but if you're looking for the people responsible for drumming up vaccine skepticism in this country, the only place you need to look is on his very network. A network, mind you, that doesn't even believe what they themselves are saying. A network where you'd be hard-pressed to find employees who aren't vaccinated. A network where they understand the risks associated with the virus and the obvious benefits that come by imposing safety measures. Despite the narrative that Doocy's trying to sell here, Joe Biden is doing his job when it comes to this pandemic, and it's long past time that Fox News started doing theirs. If you enjoyed that video and you're looking for a deeper dive, check out my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen. It's a no BS look at the top stories of the week, along with interviews with the top names in politics, like Vice President Kamala Harris, Jen Psaki, Elizabeth Warren, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Katie Porter, Pete Buttigieg, and more. Again, that's No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, available anywhere you listen to podcasts. Also, if you want to see more videos like this one, click the subscribe link right here on this screen to join the more than 1 million people who've already subscribed to my channel. And finally, to donate to my Don't Be a Mitch Fund, where I'm raising money for a whole raft of different voter outreach and voter registration groups in the closest states ahead of midterms in 2022, including Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, North Carolina, and Texas. You can find that link on this screen as well. Thanks for watching.